Hello, homies. We are back, and I have got the lovely Sarah Valentini here with me for Q&A Friday. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Eugénie, again.
It's a bit funny for us because we've just recorded. Well, if you're listening to this one, it'll be last week's one, but for us, it was only a few minutes ago. We're batch recording today, and we're looking at some of your questions. Sarah had a couple of questions come through for her on her Instagram, and I have posted in the Homeopathy Hangout podcast Facebook group on any questions that you have for us. One of them was from Helen Newell. It said, how have you best treated leaky gut in children? And have either of you ever used Akkermansia monsanfilla for that issue? And then on your Instagram, Sarah, you had a question about can you
Can
heal?
you heal dairy allergy with homeopathy? So I think, yeah, if we talk about gut healing and homeopathy, that's we can cover off on all of these things,
Okay,
I
you
think.
go first.
Okay. So maybe like just touching on leaky gut and leaky gut being the result of many different influences, but I really do see it as a strong result of dysbiosis. And dysbiosis can be due to having foods that are causing allergies. It can be or inflammation in the gut. It can be due to infections that a person is susceptible to and changing the gut. Overuse of medications, pharmaceuticals, and things like that, processed foods, glyphosate. There's a number of areas to explore, and I mean, things like glyphosate. We've all been exposed to that in at some point or another, and so we have all of these factors, and then the result of that can show up differently in different children, and of course, we treat individually in homeopathy. But one of the things, and then feeding into the dairy allergy or other food allergies, I have two schools of thought on that actually. So one is that there already is this weakened gut dysbiosis, and actually there's a lot of evidence that our microbiome is reducing in diversity
Mm.
over many years, and this is also when we're out of balance in our gut and we've got this reduced bacteria, viruses, archaea, like parasites, all of those things. And we should touch on parasites too, but that this is also leading to this leaky gut because we're actually a little bit out of whack. We're out of whack in the world, really, with everything that comes in. We're out of whack with, how we live, how we honor our bodies, and all of that kind of stuff. So that's a bigger piece as well. But in terms of working with gut issues, we have some amazing remedies and amazing kind of tools that we can use to be quite specific about rebalancing gut flora, such as using that gut flora that's out of whack in the whole microbiome in homeopathic potency.
Mm.
That's one thing we could do. And the person who mentioned Akkermansia as one of those things, yes, we can do that. And of course, then we have the wonderful bowel nosodes as well, which are, pretty amazing, to be honest.
They're incredible. I love them.
They're so incredible, aren't they? And to think that it was I think the early 1900s
Mm.
that they were made and discovered, and how actually it would have been great because they were made from samples of stool,
Mm.
and that was back in the early 1900s as well, and we still have those remedies today. So in fact, they do possibly contain way more flora than our stool does now, or that our microbiome does. So maybe it can also inoculate us a little bit with these older bacteria, viruses, and things that can be really beneficial to help with the diversity.
I didn't even think about that, but that's so true. I've often joked with my kids that they will be able to make a fortune one day out of their poo because they were born naturally at home. They've never had antibiotics or any Panadol or any shots or any medication in their bodies ever. So like their gut microbiome is like so they've always played in the dirt because they've always lived on acreage in the dirt, never had hand sanitizer on their hand. I've told them how to fake putting hand sanitizer on. So so they just get all the bugs in their system and their immune system is
Mhm.
so strong. So I would say they literally can sell their poo one day. But leaky gut is so big. Hey, there's that metals component as well that,
Uh-huh.
will lead to leaky gut. Like you said, the glyphosate. I had a client the other day tell me that whenever, and she grew up on a wheat farm, whenever she opens up flour in the kitchen, she becomes dizzy. And I'm like,
Oh,
how crazy is that? So
wow.
we're about to do a glyphosate detox with her.
Hmm.
Going to be interesting. We're
Wow.
doing it very, very slowly. We're water dosing for her because I was saying you're probably going to have a massive headache. The first time I took the glyphosate remedy about 6 years ago, I had this biggest headache ever.
Oh,
I did not
wow.
know that my body would react in that way. I was really surprised. Fluoride in drinking water reduces our gut bacteria. I was literally listening to a podcast on Low Tox Life, actually, and
Mhm.
Alex Stewart was saying, the fluoride in our drinking water reduces our gut bacteria. And I'm still amazed how many people drink tap water. I mean, it tastes disgusting. I don't know why you'd want to do it in the first place. But that fluoride, like, why would you do that? It's a neurotoxin and it's just,
Mhm.
it stops the uptake of iodine. And so we're wondering why the,
Yeah.
IQ globally is going down.
Hmm.
Kids are not playing in the dirt outside anymore. They're all in sterile environments and all using hand sanitizer and all these things. So they're not getting these bugs in their system to really populate their guts. So
Mm.
yes, it's a huge,
Yes.
huge topic. And leaky gut and
Yes.
also leaky brain, which,
Yes.
that's a whole other topic in itself, but so many
Yeah.
things in our environment that causes this. I have to
Yes.
say I haven't used Akkermansia before. I'm going to be I see it as made from healthy like gut bacteria. So that's something that I'll definitely look into a little bit more as well. But we have got so many, we've got literary remedies made from everything. So
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and there's there is so much we can do. One of the remedies that I really love for especially if I've done a microbiome test, like a full complete microbiome test with somebody, which is a stool test, and it gives a breakdown of all the bacteria, viruses, parasites, yeasts in the body in the stool, is if and commonly I will see that the secretory IgA is low. And the secretory IgA is almost that it's like the protective barrier at the level of the mucous membranes of the gut. And if it's low, it means that, it's not kind of filtering
mm,
things out that are passing through that are in the gut that are going to be absorbed into the body. And so one remedy that I use is Torula, which is Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is a good yeast, basically. But using it in homeopathic potency, I use
amazing.
that really commonly to help rebuild that secretory IgA. So that's one thing that we can do. But I'm also sure that the bowel nosodes also
Mm.
contribute to that rebuilding of the secretory IgA.
And sometimes you do need those supplements as well. Like glutamine is another such a good supplement. It might be actually worth using. Like I've never used that in potency, but it might be a good one to use in potency as well.
Mhm.
Don't think I've ever had a client react to glutamine. I mean, it seems to be a pretty well tolerated supplement, and pretty cheap as well. It's one of those
Mm.
cheapest supplements. And
It can be an issue with people with mast cell activation.
of course, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's just something to keep in
So
mind.
maybe worth doing in potency, then like, giving that a try.
Hmm.
Slippery elm, I think, is another one that's really good. I mean,
Hmm.
because I'm a homeopath, I've got naturopathic training as well, but I tend to use not that many supplements. But these days I'm starting to introduce a little bit more because it sometimes just feels like people need that physical, especially when it comes to the gut lining, helping them with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And those prebiotic fibers as
Mm.
well are really beneficial, especially when healing the gut, because they will generally help move things through the gut when, things are getting stuck less or stagnant
Mm.
less when we kind of help with prebiotic fibers such as partially hydrolyzed guar gum,
Mm.
and psyllium and
Mm. Psyllium's another good
yeah,
one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
There's so many directions that this can go, and my brain's kind of just going. I think
yeah.
sometimes it's worth doing those gut microbiome tests. I really, really wish the government would subsidize it because it's about $420 if you do it through NutriPath. I know some of yours you do through RN Labs.
Mm.
Clients can do it themselves, which I love through iScreen. So you can go i-screen.com I'm sure, actually most of our listeners are in America, so I'm sure you have something similar there. They've got great testing in America for all sorts of things that we don't have over here. So you guys have got
Mm.
no shortage of people to choose from. But sometimes it is just worth knowing what is in the gut. I've just had a gut microbiome test come through this week because we just weren't sure what is going on with this client. I said to her, look, I'm sorry, but I really think it's that at that point now where we just need to fork out the money so we know what we're dealing with. And there was really high Klebsiella in there as well. And fusobacterium and all sorts of other things and very low, like good bacteria, just so you have an idea of what's going on. Sometimes it's so hard to know what to treat.
Mhm.
I know the other thing I was going to say as well is the poly IG remedy from the Ton
Uh-huh.
Janssen's Human Chemistry. I sometimes use that as well. So it's got IgA
Yeah.
and IgG and all the IGs in it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can use that alongside as well to kind of
Yeah.
just help with that.
Yeah.
We've got so many options with homeopathy, right? Like
We do. We
we've
do.
got
You know,
so
we've
many
got,
tools.
yeah, and we've got, remedies that can help if there's constipation that can
Mm.
help move the stool. There's remedies that if there's diarrhea that we can slow that down. In terms of the question about the dairy tolerance, I have seen people when they've mended their gut be able to tolerate dairy.
All the
At
time. I see it all the time.
Yeah,
It can be done.
yeah. And
Mm.
then I would also say just being really careful about the dairy that you're having too, because obviously the cows, the if it's not organic, and hopefully if it is organic, you will be avoiding the glyphosate a little bit more. But that's just another source of those kind of toxins and chemicals that will re-damage the gut. So I
And
would think,
some people just do not tolerate dairy well. I mean, I actually have a GFDF remedy, which has got like the, gluten and uh, uh
casein.
yes, and lactifluratum and
Mhm.
triticum vulgarum and a few other things in it. And I give that to my clients to keep in their handbag. And if they're out and about and at the place where they can't avoid it, you just have the remedy afterwards, every, 15 minutes or so for about 4 doses, because we do have to live. And, it's always
Yeah.
best if you avoid those trigger foods, but sometimes, and I would just say not to abuse it, like not to then think you can eat it all day and just take the remedy, because that's not good either. But it is for those times when you're in a tricky situation, there's nothing else for you to eat. And then there is something that can give you like a little bit of relief in the meantime. But healing dairy allergies is kind of like a no-brainer for homeopaths. Like we do it all the time. It's actually pretty
Mm.
straightforward. It does just sometimes take a bit of time. It's much quicker to do in kids than it is in adults, but
Mm.
it can be done. Absolutely.
Yeah. I would also say though, because I have a lot of clients who really don't want to give up the food. And you do actually to heal the gut, because if you are consuming that food that you're currently sensitive to ongoing and you don't want to give that up, your gut won't heal because it is going to be inflamed. And we want inflammation. So it means abstaining for a period of time. And then hopefully then you can reintroduce and see. But what's the worst thing that would happen if you can't have cow's milk? I mean, I can't have cow's milk. That's one thing that I haven't. I mean, I can have some cheese. I don't have dairy, but I mean, it's a pretty amazing how many replacements that we have these days for dairy. We're very, very fortunate in that way.
So
And
fortunate.
I think in terms of food as well, I'll often encourage my clients to look at, so tell me what comes up if I tell you need to avoid that food. And then there's the emotional aspect of not being able to eat things. And when we work through that as well, the tension with that food also can dissolve too, because it's like, what is that food doing for you? Like, what is it masking, or what is it helping you kind of avoid, even possibly? Hmm.
Spoken like a true homeopath. I love it. Looking at absolutely 100%. And you see the resistance in some people of not wanting to do it and then exploring that a little bit more. I love the interview I did with Kobe Nehushtan from the homeopath from Israel. And he talks about, if you have any sort of energetic thing with any sort of food, then there's something to be explored there. In the case of milk, it's obviously to do with mothering and nurturing. So have you got an allergy to milk? Do you have an excessive craving for milk? Are you completely averse to milk? Then maybe exploring that relationship with mothering and nurturing. Is there something there that needs to be healed? And then for the father, it was meat. So are you completely averse to meat? Do you react to meat? Can't you digest meat? Like what is, and then like healing it from that aspect as well. I'll say, in my in my early prescribing days when I was like, homeopathy can heal everything. I'd say to
Mm.
clients with eczema, no, you don't. Your child doesn't need to stop their dairy. We can heal this without them stopping the dairy. And then I'm like, uh-oh. Or kids with like glue ear or things like that. No, you can continue the dairy. And I'm like, uh-oh, no, it doesn't work that way. So and constipation. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Sometimes you cannot heal the constipation if the person will not stop the dairy. I've just like you can give them all the remedies under the planet, but if they're not going to stop the dairy, you just cannot heal the constipation. And
Mhm.
sometimes I'll say to them, like minimum 6 weeks. Like I would prefer it's 3 months, but it's like sometimes you just cannot mentally get people past that point. But say to them, just 6 weeks, no dairy, then feel in your body and see how you're going.
Mhm. That's right. And I think as well, like, we kind of have this expectation that we should be able to eat everything. And that expectation has to change too. Like, because, if you can, I had a client once she had Crohn's, and she was doing the GAPS diet fairly consistently, like her whole life, because of the Crohn's. And she said she really had to change her relationship with food in a way. And I think, I mean, that goes back to that emotional aspect of that connection to food, the challenges of celebrating around food, of wanting to fit in with food. The parents who, when the kid goes to the birthday party, they just want them to have the food, and that I'm totally like, well, do you do that because if it's going to compound something else. But I had a child who I was working with for 2 years, and so much changed in this child except for the constipation. And I was like, and I'd mentioned it and they didn't want to do it. And I was like, you've just got to actually, it was gluten and dairy. You've just got to try it. Because if you really want him to poo, you really have to try it. And they did. And of course, now he poos every day.
Exactly right. And actually one of the questions that was in the Facebook group was something along the lines of something to do with that. Kind of what are the here we go. What are the limits of homeopathy? Can it do everything short of surgery? Like I do think like sometimes, yeah, there is a limit. Like
Hmm.
you sometimes do need to make those dietary changes. You need to get out of that toxic relationship. You need to move away from the 5G tower, move out of the moldy home, the smart meter box that's on the outside of your bedroom wall where your head is resting on your bed. You need to move away from that. Like sometimes like homeopathy is amazing, but sometimes you do need to make those changes to really, I mean, I always say to my clients, I've got a client at the moment, major liver congestion, so many issues. But she refuses to give up her alcohol. And I'm like, it's fine. Like you've just like if you decide you want to be here for a good time, not a long time, that is fine. I'm here to support you along the way. It's totally fine.
Right.
Just so you can aware of it's not my shitty prescribing. It's like I
Right.
cannot help you. But I also say to sorry, I'll finish that sentence. I cannot help you if you don't want to be helped. I can only help you to a certain point. I always say to my clients, you can hit your head against the wall every single day and you can take arnica every single day. It's going to help you, but you're not going to fully heal until you stop hitting your head against the wall. And homeopathy is non-judgmental. It's not going to say, no, I'm not going to heal your bruise today because you don't want to listen to me. Arnica is going to be there. It's going to be a supportive, non-judgmental buddy that's going to help you with that bruise every single time you hit your head against the wall, but you're not going to fully heal until you stop hitting against the wall.
Love it. Absolutely. That's, yeah. Mhm. Yeah, right. That's
Um,
exactly right.
I'm just wondering, is parasites a thing, a talk all in
Oh,
itself, or
yes.
should we include parasites in this one?
I feel like we should.
We should. Let's do it. Let's
Yes.
do it.
And I want to talk about parasites in that we make them our enemy. I have so many clients who come, and of course I work with a lot of children, and it's parasites, and we've got to get rid of the parasites. And we do. especially when it's a real issue. But one thing that we do with homeopathy, it's not just get rid of parasites. We make the environment difficult for the parasites to stay connected. And if we've got something invading us ongoing, such as parasites, that then we kind of also need to heal the reason that we're open and susceptible to them, number one. But the other thing is that some parasites are actually beneficial, and there is research that shows that some parasites are actually very helpful in autoimmune illnesses. And so this kind of war on parasites, it's the same as the war that we have on bacteria and viruses and things. We don't wage that war in homeopathy. We find the balance. We find the so that we're not in polarity with that. And when we're not in polarity, we can expel parasites. But getting down to the nitty-gritty, we also have some pretty amazing remedies, although sometimes I do find that I need to do other things to really support that. But we do have wonderful remedies such as Sina, 2-Criem. We have the parasites in homeopathic form. All of them can be incredibly helpful, I find.
I love the polyparasite mix. I cannot tell you how many clients I've had that have been to naturopaths and spent thousands on supplements, have been to the doctor, have had all the antibiotics and the dientamoeba and the blasto and everything else is still there. And then we do like a series of the polyparasite and then it's gone. And I have had lab tests from only 1 or 2 clients because, we don't get bulk bill GPs anymore. It's quite hard to find. So I used to be able to send my clients up until I think like end of last year, even start of this year. It feels like it was around March somewhere this time. I heard clients say they can't go to bulk bill GPs. I mean, I never go to GP, so I wouldn't even know unless I was told that you could send them to the GP, bulk bill GP for free. And then they could get a basic stool test done for free. And it basically just tests for blasto and dientamoeba and a couple of other things, not like the complete microbiome test. So some of them would go beforehand before homeopathic treatment and afterwards. And I've got like 1 or 2 of those tests, which we could show, okay, the blasto and the dientamoeba wasn't there anymore. Those remedies are good. I often find like the classic 8-week homeopathic detox therapy / Ton Janssen human chemistry type protocol is often not enough. I often need to keep up with a 10M once a week for like a few months after that.
Yeah.
And like some of the things, sometimes it's worth knowing the typical symptoms. Like I found with dientamoeba, clients will say they have to keep on wiping their bum and it's like it doesn't come clean. And then you'll ask them after I detox, can you wipe clean now? And they'll say, yep, it's fine. And then we know, okay, the body's not giving us symptoms anymore. So the body is in balance now.
Yeah.
Or they'll say it's very foul smelling.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes. So then
There's nothing like a clean break, the clean breaker.
Yes. And it might be worth like asking, those questions about like how much toilet paper do you go through? And yes, so or just asking about the wiping. I don't I love talking about poos. Maybe it's a homeopath thing, but
Yeah,
I
I
so
think it
when
is.
people are like say they'll say, oh, I'm so embarrassed to say this, or I'm sorry to say this, it's too much information, but about my bowel motion. So I'm like, no, give it's beautiful. It's those uncompensated symptoms that our body gives. Like that's why I love talking about periods and poos and snot because we live in such a compensated state all day long, putting on our masks, but the stuff that comes out of our body is in the uncompensated state. So prescribing on that is actually so satisfying.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I'll often preface when I'm talking to teenager, like, I know you're not going to want to talk about this, but trust me, I talk about this all day. Tell me about your poo. And some will relax into it and others will, no, don't want to talk about that. But that's right. It's such an indicator of what's going on. And then sometimes it's a little difficult to tell, and that's when the stool samples are
Yeah,
incredibly helpful.
really
I
good.
believe that it's 10 parasites that you can get in Australia with the GPs.
Okay.
But I know sometimes some doctors won't do it and you'll have to give them some kind of reason. Like I've been traveling and I picked
They
up a
are
bug.
resistant to doing it, hey? I have had to say, because you can do a 1-day stool sample and a 3-day stool sample with a GP. And I know the 3-day stool sample they just do not want to do, but they
No.
will do the one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can have it done that way if you suspect that might be an issue.
Yeah.
I feel like there's
I
something else we
think
could say.
I also have more recently, when I have really stuck parasite cases, I've been using ivermectin in a homeopathic potency, often in a cord, which is a cord includes the 30C, 200C, and 1M I use generally. And I do a course of that
Mm,
or every week. And actually, when we're treating parasites too, parasites are pretty clever, and we can. It's good to burst treatment. Also, remembering full moon is when the eggs hatch, and new moon is when the eggs are laid by the parasite. And so, giving bursts of treatment around those 2 points, especially if it's a chronic problem, I'll get parents to do that for a while. And I call it a parasite moon phase remedy that I have, and I've got many remedies, including polyparasite, in there to help clear. I just tell families just every month, every new moon, every full moon, give a bit of a burst, 5 days, once a day for 5 days over that period of time too,
mm,
and then we reduce the susceptibility like that.
mm, mm. Yeah, I've got a worming mix and a worming ultra mix as well. And the worming
Oh
ultra
wow.
has got pinworm in there and the remedy
Yes.
and Luna, the remedy made from
Oh
moonlight.
yes, yes. Actually, me too.
Yeah.
And it's
Actually,
really
you've got
important.
some good combos that I've started seeing you bring out as well. Like you've got some good mixes in. I'm like, damn, why didn't I think of that one?
Oh, you probably
Like,
did. Like you probably
we've got
already
like
did.
slightly different things in our combos, but it's good. I'm
Mm.
happy to see homeopaths like using more combination remedies. I used to be so anti them, and then a few years ago started making some, and then there was like I think that's where you and I are both like clinicians. We both have very busy practices. And so instead of like teaching book knowledge, the two of us have real life knowledge because we are so busy. So we are seeing what works in practice, and that is what we use as opposed to just, oh, this person says I should do this, I should do that. We're actually like using it. Um, and I think that's very valuable. I always love learning from people
Mm.
who have been there in the trenches. That's why I love Hilary Dorian so much because she's had
Mhm.
such a busy practice for 4 decades. So I love learning from people like that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's right.
I have a lot of
And I think
respect for people who have walked the walk. Like that's
yeah,
my like one of my
absolutely.
highest things. I want to learn from people who have walked the walk, who have actually done it, and this is what worked, and this is what hasn't worked. Also keeping in mind that we all have different practices. I mean, I
Mm.
only treat women and children. So the things that I'm going to use and I'm going to find is relative to my practice. Somebody else might work in a particularly low socioeconomic area. Somebody else might work in a area that there's a lot of mines or a lot of industry. So they will use a different subset of remedies. You have a lot of pandas, autism. So your remedies, your set of remedies that you're going to work with is different. So it's always important to keep that in mind, like who you're learning from as well. Like don't just take that as that's gospel. Just take it in the context of, oh, this person's actually a new practitioner, or actually this person hasn't practiced for many years, but they're giving this advice. So maybe their advice might be a little bit outdated because they haven't practiced for 5 years, or, things like that. Like, so
Yeah.
not just taking it as gospel, taking it from the person that you're getting it from with, oh, this is how they work, this is how they see the world, this is the people that they treat, and this is the results that they get. For example, some homeopaths really love the remedy lac humanum. That's the one that they will use, which is made from the breast milk of one woman. And I'm just thinking like Patricia Hatherley, she loves lac humanum and has incredible results with that remedy. And then Tina Smith's was more lac maternum. And I like really vibe with that particular remedy because it's made from the breast milk of 9 different women from colostrum all the way through 9 or 10 months. And I know some people say start with lac humanum, then go to lac maternum. In my clinic, I just personally haven't had that great results with lac humanum. I only use lac maternum. So,
Mhm.
like we all have different, it doesn't make one bad or one not. It's just we all have different experiences because we have a different subset of clients that we work with. And that's
Mhm.
completely nothing to do with leaky gut, but I just
Yes.
feel passionate
Yeah.
about that topic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true, isn't it? And I think as well, we like when you work with many, many clients, when you prescribe a remedy that lands really well with a client and that they do really well, you learn a lot about that remedy. You learn a lot about that person. And then when you see that over and over again in different situations, you really have this applied knowledge. And I think that I remember when I was at studying in my undergrad, and it was like I know that there's one lecturer in particular that was teaching from the book. She was teaching from the Materia Medica, and she could paint the picture of what Staphysagria was or what sulfur was. But then you get into practice, and then there's so many nuances. And then also, like, yeah, I work with a lot of complex pediatric cases, and so with neuroimmune disorders, and so I really get that. I really get that process, and I really get that pace that the vital force is moving through, and all of that kind of stuff. And I know people who work a lot with women and pregnancy and all of that stuff, and they really get that, in different and nuanced ways because of that experience, and that is definitely invaluable.
My like I've realized I'm probably ADHD, but also a projector, and I have like a bajillion ideas that pop into my head like all day long. And as we're sitting here talking, I'm just thinking, we should maybe you and I should start like a mentoring type group, like helping new homeopaths. Because I'm just thinking I would have loved to have somebody like you and I help me when I was a student and also a new homeopath. So maybe we should just put it out there on the podcast. I like to do things on the fly. I always like do things
Yes.
first and think about them later. But we've realized that Sarah's Capricorn energy is very good to ground my like fiery Aries energy. I'll just throw it out there. Like I always like love throwing out there and just things out there and just seeing what sticks and what doesn't. And if it doesn't, just move on. But maybe we should just put it out there, Sarah. Should we start like a little like mentoring group for
Yeah,
like
I think I feel like that because I would have loved that when I went into practice, and I think another reason I set up my group practice was because I had a lot of experience, and I have two group practices actually, the Homeopathy Hive and the Family Apothecary, and I was like, people that go into practice, like you can feel so afloat, so.
Mhm.
And you kind of need guidance. You need people to help you find the way, and have a bit of a gang as well that you can discuss things with.
Mm.
And, it's just so incredibly invaluable.
Okay, well, let's throw it out and we'll see what sticks, hey? We'll
Yes.
see if anyone's
Yes.
even listening to this and if they're
Yeah.
keen, maybe we should make it happen. Well, I think we can squeeze in one more like batch recording. So let's say goodbye on this one. And anyone else that wants to listen to the next one's going to have to wait till next week. See you later, everyone.